Hiya, yeah. My name's Morgan Howell, and I'm an artist, I guess. That's what you call me, I suppose.
What is it exactly that you're doing? What would you call it, first of all?
That's a good question. I mean, the thing's called Supersize art because I'm basically taking a 7-inch single and then making a giant sort of facsimile of it. But I'm not like photocopying it or scanning it or whatever. I'm painting it, and not just as a flat thing, but as a 3-dimensional object. So the one that I'm working on at the moment is Jeepster by T-Rex from 1971, and it's a knackered old heirloom that's been around for a long time, but it means an awful lot to the people that it belongs to, and so it's a commission, and once it's completed, it's going to be framed like the pieces behind me, and it's going to go hang on their wall, and hopefully it will be, well, they're more personal to them than a portrait. I mean, it's a really important thing in their life.
Why do you think people commission their 7-inch vinyls to be blown up?
Well, again, I think for certain people, it's a really important part of their life. I mean, music. Most people, there's that horrible cliche like it's the soundtrack of my life. But I think a lot of people can pinpoint certain times in their life when music has meant an awful lot to them. A lot of times it's when you're quite young, when you meet your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or some kind of life event happens, and certainly when you're sort of in your early teens, those things kind of like define the rest of your life. And when you turn into an old git like me, you start looking back on those, and you realise that actually they were important moments. And I suppose it's also a cool thing to be kind of it's not so good if the record that changed your life was by Shawaddy Waddy. But if it was by Bob Dylan or The Who or T-Rex or Bowie or something, then that's quite a cool thing. And I suppose when we were kids, you used to sort of wander around with the records under your arm, and it was a mark of what your tastes were and how cool you were or whatever, what tribe you were from. Yeah, if you were sort of a punk or a Moz or a Grebo, God forbid. So I think you get to a certain stage and maybe you've made some money and you're looking for a piece of art for your wall, which is a really deeply personal thing. And as I said, people have said to me that it's more personal than having a portrait of them, because actually that record has defined their life, and that's exactly what's happened in this instance. This chap is in the music business. All of his life he's worked in music, and when he heard this record, he said to his mum and dad, he's only a kid, said to his mum and dad, I'm going to earn my money in the music business. And they said, you're having a laugh, you're going to go to university and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And now he writes film scores and he can afford to spend a lot of money on to go like this to his mum and dad, I suppose. So and he's also he met his wife, who also loves this song, and this is actually her copy. These are her initials on the record, which I'll be painting on here. So that's why. Thank God.
How did you get involved in this?
I used to run an advertising agency. I did that for 20 odd years. My father's an artist, and he'd had various goes at getting into the Royal Academy. You have an open summer show at the Royal Academy every year, and I wanted to see if I could get into that. And I tried. I had 2 or 3 attempts with conventional. I paint and sculpt and do all that sort of stuff. But sadly, so do lots of other people. And you don't, it's not good enough just to be able to paint a nice picture. Thousands of people can do that. So after I got rejected a few times, I started trying to think what had defined me, what had made me what I am as an adult. And I've got 2 sisters that are quite a bit older than me, 6 years older than me and 10 years older than me. And when I was like 14, 15 at school, I was, part of the whole second generation mod thing, and into, the jam and the specials and what have you. And my sisters gave me a load of old records, and I discovered the Small Faces and the Yardbirds and Stax and Tamla Motown and all this great music that most people my age didn't know. So it gave me, I was in a band, crap band at the time, good bass player if you're listening, but yeah, we were pretty bad, but it made me, at least made me feel cool, like I had a bit of an edge. When I was a skinny spotty kid, it just gave me a little bit of confidence, I think, to have this knowledge, and that's what it was. It was like a knowledge of all this brilliant music. So I thought, well, that's actually defined me now. That music that I learned then, that I heard then, all my friends have come from that. The way I dress now comes from that. I'm looking at this jacket that I bought when I was 15, actually. How sad is that? But my whole life has come from that time. So actually, if I reproduce those records, that's my life. That's why I am like I am. So that's what I did to start with. And I did get, I got shortlisted by the Royal Academy, and also denoticed, which means your work goes in front of all the Royal Academians, and they look at it it goes past like this, and they sort of say, right, that one, and then they put a D on the back, and D is for display, which means it's to go up on the wall, and then a Royal Academian is in charge of each room, and they decide if it goes on the wall or not, and mine didn't go on the wall. Bastards. But no, that meant that, I felt good about my work. I felt that it had some recognition from some important people. So that gave me the confidence to sort of go on and start producing them. So, and I've done about over 95, 96 of these now.
How long have you actually been doing Supersize art?
I came up with the idea in 2008. In 2009, I'd sort of created enough of them to do press releases and send it around to all the music press, and so I did that, and got a lot of great publicity in the first year. I gave most of my originals away in the first year as prizes. So you could write into Mojo magazine and come up. I can't remember what the competition was now, but whoever it was won one of my original paintings. So I did that for the first year, but then a guy called Rob Stringer, who's the boss of Sony in New York, saw the work in Mojo magazine and called me up on my mobile phone. And I was walking around St Pancras Station, and he said, "Oh hi, it's Rob Stringer here from Sony in New York." And my immediate reaction was, "Oh shit!" And he said, "Oh no, don't worry." He said, we think your work's fantastic. How much are they?" So I told him, and he went, "Oh, okay." And he commissioned 4 pieces, and now I do this full time. So I've been doing it full time. 3 years.
You can see that what you're working right now has got a lot of wrinkles, scratches and stains and stuff, but these are actually purposely done up.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to show the life that the record has had, because that's part of its history, and I'm really interested in the. It's not. I mean, the music is great, obviously, but if you just have a pristine bag, how it was originally printed, well, it hasn't had a life. And the work is all about the life that it's had, because the person that bought the record has got old with it, and it's the wrinkles that the bag and the creases and everything that it's got are probably the same as mine. It's been to parties, it's been nicked, it's got rips and tears and all the rest of it, and it's part of the social history of the record. So yeah, that's exactly what I replicate. And it's funny, one of my customers is a record collector, and I've changed his record buying habits, because he used to buy mints record sleeves, And now he looks out for the ones that are a bit dog-eared, and that's all my fault because I'm drawn to the more sort of knackered the sleeve is, the more I think, oh wow, that's going to be great to paint that. So yeah. With regards to actually painting them, the bag instead of being paper, it's actually painted onto canvas, so that the creases are scaled up. The whole idea is that when you look at it from a distance, it should look exactly like, you said when you were taking a photograph of one, it messes with your mind a little bit, and that's the whole idea, is that you look at it and you think, hang on a second, this doesn't compute. But when you get close to it, you realise that it's all hand painted and it is canvas, it's not paper, etc. So it's all about scale.
Could you tell us a story about the picture review at Sonata Records?
Oh right, yeah.
With a briefcase.
I did, yeah. Well, I've just come off the back of an exhibition in Los Angeles, and all my family take the mickey out of me because, oh, have you been to LA? Yeah, yes. Well, I've been going on about it a little bit, so here's me going on about it a bit more. Yeah, last year because Sony have my work. The other kind of like big record, well, there's Warner's and Universal. Universal own Capitol Records, so I was really keen for Capitol Records to see my work before I had a show in America. So yeah, I managed to get in on a tour. You can sort of buy a tour of Capitol Records, and they take you into the recording studios, and you can see Nat King Cole's piano and Frank Sinatra's microphone and his stool that he sat on and all the rest of it. So I had these big red flight cases that the work fits in. And I turned up at the tour with a big red flight case and pushed it past the security guard. And eventually he got curious and asked to see what was in the case. And I'd actually painted Yesterday by the Beatles on Capitol Records. And it was actually number one in America the day I was born. So that's why I picked Yesterday out of all the ones that it's not my favourite Beatles song, but it is a bit of a big one. And also it was never a single in the UK. In the UK, the rest of the band vetoed it because it was just Paul McCartney and his guitar and strings. So it was a George Martin and Paul McCartney song. It wasn't a Beatles song. So the Beatles vetoed it. It was never a single in the UK, but it was a single in America. But once I got it out of the case, the guy got on the phone and everyone came down from upstairs, and I landed up getting a full tour of Capitol Records, stood on the iconic roof of the building with a Hollywood sign behind me, and they took me into the tape library, and I held all the Beatles master tapes, and yeah, it was crazy. So it was a bit risky, because they might have been, they weren't really aware of my work. But the pieces are, they're a celebration of great records, and now all the record companies kind of, appreciate that most of them own some stuff, so it's all good.
How long does it take to create?
Sometimes ages. Some of the Beatles ones I've done with the Apple sleeve can take certainly up to a month. Some of them, because they have like a black lacquered bag, and the lacquer all cracks, so I have to paint all of the little cracks in the varnish and stuff, and they take ages and ages to do. And I liken the cracks in the varnish to the cracks in a masterpiece. If you look at an old oil close, the varnish is all crackled, and that's exactly what these Apple sleeves, and of course they are masterpieces. Hey Jude is a masterpiece, so I really, really like that analogy. All the way down to, I was asked to, I had my work in at Radio 2 in the green room, and they asked me to paint Dancing Queen by ABBA, and I said, okay, any particular reason? And they said, well, how soon can you do it? And I said, well, when do you need it? And they said, she's coming in for an interview on Thursday. And it was Monday. So I had to do it really, really quickly. But it was her first public interview in 25 years, and we got a wonderful photograph of Agneta with the piece at Radio 2.
So it involved burning them in that oil?
It did, yeah. And normally the pieces are photographed before they're framed, so I can make prints of them. And I didn't have time to do any of that, but I managed to get it delivered to them in time. But it's normally, I would say, normally a couple of weeks.
You mentioned that you were doing an exhibition in LA. Have you got any other exhibitions?
I do solo stuff, which is what I'm doing with my good friends at Sonata Hi-Fi. And I also sort of collaborative shows, and they're called Cassettes versus Vinyl, and they're with Horace Panther, who's the bass player of the Specials, and he paints kind of like mixtapes. So it's all about cassettes with him, and he knows a load of people in the music business, obviously. And the cassette was a tool, a recording tool. So he likes to paint copies of the cassettes that were part of the making of the record. And another guy called Chris Barton, who is an film prop man. He made Yoda. Yeah, that's his claim to fame. He made Yoda, I'll just say that again. And Chris makes giant cassettes, facsimiles of cassettes, and they're 3D models. So we had a show with them in LA, and I've got one coming up with them at Gibson's HQ in London. So that will be in February, early February the 9th, I think it is. So that's the next big show that we have. We have small shows every sort of now and then, but we're taking over Gibson's, which is pretty cool for a show, and we're going to have our work in the windows there for 2 months. So
there's been this sort of resurgence in the interest in vinyl again, hasn't there?
Yeah, it's mad.
Vinyl revival.
Yeah.
It's about what's happening and what's.
I think it's a reaction to. I think there's this kind of like business of wanting to own something again, you know. My kids are 20 and 17, and they don't consider they own a record unless they've got the vinyl. And that's not just me; it's all their friends as well. That age group are buying vinyl again, and it's this, you know, sitting down in your bedroom, you know, looking at, just like I did when I was a kid, reading the notes. Listening to it, and also there's something about when you stream a record. It's a convenience to be able to stream stuff, but it's different if you put a record on. It's moving the atoms in the room. And when I I've inherited loads of records from family and friends, and Jackie, my beloved's mum and dad are rock and rollers, and I mean they've lent me a lot of their old records. And for example, I've got Great Balls of Fire from 1956 on London, and you get that out of the sleeve. So this is something that's travelled through time for 60 years. Okay, it's pressed in America, it's travelled through time. It's a bit plastic, and I stick it on a record player, drop the needle on it, and it crackles, and that record is in the room with you. It's a very, very, very different experience to streaming something or listening to a CD. And once you actually hear the difference, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's weird, and it's not a generational thing. It's not that's the way it used to be. It's the same now. So I think people are, if people are spending, you know, 25 quid or something on a piece of music. That's the way. I mean, I know you can stream an album for 8 quid or something like that, but it's just not the same. It's not the same as owning it, and I think that's just been building. And now the sales of I mean, you know, all you got to do is, you know, walk into Argos and they're selling turntables again. I mean, it's nuts. And so I think it's I don't know. Who knows what the future is? I mean, we thought, you know, everyone threw their records away and bought everything on CD. Everyone's chucked their CDs away and started streaming stuff and listening to Sonos and all the rest of it. And now everyone's thinking, oh shit, why did I throw all my vinyl away? And they're buying it again. I know loads of people that are going out and buying all their old vinyl again, just to kind of have that experience. So I don't know, I think in this world where everything is virtual, people are appreciating the experience of finding something that's actual rather than virtual. So I think that's probably going to grow, but I don't know. You know, we'd all be rich if we knew what the future held, wouldn't we?
Okay, Morgan, final compound question. What is your favourite song, and also what is your favourite design?
What am I on?
Which album is the best design in your opinion?
It's so difficult. Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, I'm a massive Beatles fan. It'd probably be a Beatles song for me, but it's impossible to answer. I mean, it's Beatles, Stones, The Who. I love them all. I love a lot of new music. I listen to lots and lots and lots of new music. So it's impossible to answer that. And from a design point of view, the one this is a plain sleeve. There's nothing on it, and I love it. So it's usually whatever the next one is. I've just done an old Stiff Records one, which is Back in Trousers by Madness, and that's a crazy sleeve. It's really, really lovely. So, I don't know, I'm really sorry, it's a wimp out, but can't answer.
One sentence then, I think I probably already know this quote.
Yeah.
One sentence, what does the record mean? What does it mean to you?
It's as Johnny Marr said. Johnny Marr, one of my customers, he said it's an absolutely powerful, otherworldly thing, and I think it is. I think it's an object that it's got more power than it's 7 inches across, which is why I made them so big. I think if you think of the importance of a song, and it's 3 minutes concentrated into a little bit of vinyl that's been knocking about, and how important. I mean, how many lives has that touched, that song? How many times has that been played on the radio? How many times has it been covered? How many bands have picked up a guitar? How many times has someone gone from being miserable to hearing a fantastic song, all because of that little bit of plastic? So yeah, absolutely, that's how important it is.
Thank you, Morgan, for taking your time with us.
Cheers.